Um, yep. Thank you everyone for joining today's webinar featuring property management solution by Sprinterra. Um, it's, um, it's presented by two of us. Myself, Igor Severinovskiy. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Sprinterra. I have more than 30 years experience in IT industry, with primary focus in financial services and real estate. And my co-presenter is Michael Antonelli, the star of today's webinar. He is the CEO of Anton Systems, and himself having decades of experience in property management industry. I will let Mike introduce himself in a minute. For the agenda, we're gonna do a quick introduction to our companies, and then Mike will go through the market property management solution and the market opportunity, the ideal client profile. We will talk about the power of Acumatica and how the property management solution integrates within Acumatica framework. We'll have a quick demo of the major screens, and Michael will explain the functionality on those screens. And the last but not least, the go-to-market process. We will go through how to enable you to sell this solution and how to make you successful, and how we're going to be always there to help you along the way. No matter how much you know about the product, don't worry, we are there to help. So a few things about Sprinterra. Sprinterra was founded in 2007 by my partner Eugene and myself as a software development shop. In 2013, we purchased Acumatica and started using it as a customer. And we customized a lot of it for our own internal needs. So we got to know Acumatica really well. And working with Acumatica, we got referrals to work with many type of clients, OEMs, VARs, ISVs. So this became a line of business for us. We have a little bit more than 100 people in the company all around the world. 40 plus are in Acumatica space. So we are one of the largest Acumatica development technical teams in the ecosystem. And in 2023, we became an ISV ourselves when Acumatica entrusted us with property management solution, which in turn it acquired from IBS. So some of you may know this history, and I think Michael will touch on that a little bit in his presentation. But Sprinterra within the Acumatica practice has two distinct directions. One is development services for Acumatica partners, VARs, ISVs, OEMs, and Acumatica itself. We actually have done projects for Acumatica, internal projects. So there we also have a program for to support VARs to do customization upgrades for their customers. And the second line is ISV products, and one of them is property management, which we will cover today. We also have cash basis reporting and a few other tools that you can check on our website. So today we have a bunch of different partners who sell our products. You can see the list of them here, and we really hope that this list is going to grow. We do have a special strategic partnership with Anton Systems, where they're an integral contributor to the roadmap and product development of property management. And we have regular meetings with them to make sure that the product stays competitive to what's out there. So without further ado, I know we don't have a lot of time today. I want to pass it on to Mike. Mike, it's all yours.
Thank you. Let me get the record. You can't see my screen yet. Hold on.
If you want, I can stay on mine and click through it.
Yeah, let me just figure out what happened here.
It's not letting you share?
No, I keep clicking it. We'll
Oh.
just go ahead. I'll just say advance and we'll keep it going.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Igor. Appreciate it. Again, I'm Michael Antonelli, CEO, President of Anton Systems. As it relates to our conversation today around property management, Anton Systems has been involved in selling, marketing, and supporting real estate type software, specifically to real estate developers and companies that own and manage commercial residential real estate. We've done this for, as noted, over about 35 years. It's kind of been our one thing as an organization. We've been fortunate early on to represent a couple of different software vendors early on. And around 2018, those vendors kind of became legacy to the point where they could not advance their technology any further. And then it actually accelerated where they actually had to sunset their software. And it left us in a bind starting around 2018, where these technologies were changing. And we had to start looking at a new software vendor. The vendors that we had been using didn't really have the technology or the technology platform to enhance it. It would require a complete rewrite, which would have taken many years to do. So we became an Acumatica partner in 2021 solely for the need of finding a property management and accounting solution to replace a majority of our clients. And we had found out about an Acumatica partner called IBS, and they were developing a property management module on the Acumatica platform, and we were very intrigued to the point where we became a partner and started to learn more about the Acumatica product. Advance. So what we're going to talk about is the property management module that moved away from the IBS into the organization of Sprinterra, where their people, their talents would continue, which had already been started, and kind of build a very demonstrable, very competitive property management type solution. Those of you that aren't familiar with property management, it is a very large micro vertical. There's many different leads, many different list sources. If you start analyzing property management, you'll see tens of thousands of opportunities out there. There are different types of property management organizations. There's what we call third party, where a broker or a business owner starts a business to manage properties for other owners. Owners don't want to have to collect rents. They don't want to do billing. They don't want to do accounting. So they'll hire a third party company. Many of you sell the Acumatica solution to developers. Many of you are also Sage 300 customers. So you've seen where developers will hold and manage their properties. So in the case of Sage 300, they'll use Sage Construction with the Timberline acquisition from years ago. So there's just a totally different micro vertical on developers that want to hold and manage. And then there's a different vertical where they just want to manage the properties for different owners. Some developers will do both. They will look at being a third-party fee manager for the cash flow and then maybe potentially buy the property, redevelop the property. Property management has a lot of activities going on day to day. Between billing and collections, there's maintenance that needs to be performed, there's proactive alertness as far as options, lease renewals. There's a lot of different types of data that's transpiring. They've got to go through qualifications, they got to go through credit checks. There's multiple review and approvals, not only in the accounts payable area, but for documents that are going back and forth, like options, escalations, and things like that. Also, there's a number of expenses that need to be tracked, and Acumatica's financial is really, really good for that. And then, depending on where you're doing property, there's a lot of wherever you're owning these properties, there's a lot of regulation that needs to be managed as well. Advance. The sweet spot for the Sprinterra property management module with Acumatica is in the commercial area. When we talk about multifamily, single family, or residential type properties, there are too many ankle biters out there to try to be competitive today. So Sprinterra and our organization for the last couple of years have been really focused on how do we really have a really feature-rich, very compelling solution for those that own and manage commercial, retail, mixed-use type properties. Since we got involved with Sprinterra, we've been fortunate on a weekly basis to be monitoring their roadmap, do different testing, different features being talked about and prioritized. So eventually, later on this year, we'll be starting to address the dedicated residential area, single family, multifamily, condo, etc. However, the current system that's available today through Sprinterra for property management does a really nice job for those that do heavy commercial and a little bit of residential. So we'll be able to talk about that in depth, in some follow-up calls. But if you look at your current user base, or where you maybe have, Sage clients, kind of look at the ones that are doing commercial, and they're ripe for the picking from the standpoint of what's available today. Advance. So why the Sprinterra property management compared to the other 85 or so products out there, or the top 5 that are in the marketplace? Yardi, MRI, RealPage. There are a number of top tier providers that have been in the space for 25, 30 years. But the emphasis here with Acumatica is that the products I just mentioned could be categorized as legacy because their technology has not changed. They have added things to it. They've caboosed different third-party modules. But with Acumatica, your advantage of being an Acumatica partner, you've got a product that's built in the cloud, that's got a very solid financial system. One of the very unique things about property management is they're not single entity. Some property managers can have 30, 40, 50 LLCs because each of these properties could be its own standalone situation. Acumatica is built for that type of a financial accounting. Number 2, if you currently have clients that are developers that are doing development, they may want a property management module. So the Sprinterra module looks and behaves just like Acumatica because it's designed in the Acumatica platform. The biggest advantage here with Acumatica and Sprinterra is we can be scalable. We can handle a small operator. We can deal with a regional manager. We can go national because as you all know, the extendability of the Acumatica platform. Now, besides the Acumatica platform and the financial accounting and having the property management, as you kind of go upstream, property management companies will self-perform their own maintenance. So the field service module is a great addition. Some property management organizations have their own brokerage. So CRM is very important, or the integration to Salesforce or HubSpot. Again, the advantages of the Acumatica platform. Seamless integration is really important here. I can't emphasize that in the competitive situations that we've been in, to show a single platform, single interface with the integration and the open API that we have. So those are pretty much, the key reasons why property management, and we have done pretty well going head to head with the RDs, MRIs, the ones that you may be familiar with, RealPage, Appfolio. We've done pretty well and have shown pretty well there. And I think that you're always going to have them out there. And like Yardi, I'm sure if anybody's been selling in the Sage world, Yardi is the 800-pound gorilla. And yeah, you'll get to the 2-yard line and they'll love the Acumatica solution, but nobody got fired for buying Yardi. However, I think if we can chip at their armor on the Acumatica platform and the technology, it has helped us win competitively. Advance. So I mentioned some of the competitors. If any of you are, have come across Sage 300, the option is they can go to Sage Intacct, yes, but their property management offering, as we have learned, is very weak. We just learned this just a couple of weeks ago. We're getting ready to sign a deal where they were looking very seriously at that and chose Acumatica. Yardi, we've talked about, there's 2 flavors of Yardi. There's Yardi Voyager and Yardi Breeze. And understand that Yardi Breeze is the get in the door product. It's priced to kind of get them off the market, but they start nickel and diming. They charge per transaction, they charge per payment. They have all these hidden things that before you know it, it can mushroom. Point number 2, Yardi Breeze is on the Yardi Voyager platform. So they try to promote it as a different product, different user interface, which it is. But at the end of the day, as they start blowing up the product on functionality, it's Yardi Voyager. And anybody that's been around the Yardi world, Yardi implementations are 3 to 4 times the price of an Acumatica. So it's very heavy. MRI, legacy product, they've been bought and sold, even Intuit bought them at one time. So, but their product hasn't changed. Their technology hasn't changed. We were very successful converting an MRI user to an Acumatica user for the many reasons that we've talked about with the advantages. Appfolio is kind of an up-and-comer in the commercial space, but their footprint is all residential. On the right-hand side, these are names that you'll hear that are in the marketplace. Those are vendors that are really 100% geared towards residential. So if you do come across a commercial prospect and say, hey, yeah, I'm looking at RealPage, well, they're really more of a residential product, etc. Advance. So how you want to position this is that, if you have a current Acumatica client, this is simply just an extension, just a module that you're going to plug in. Another ideal client profile is look at some of your clients that could be in manufacturing, that could be in healthcare, that could be e-commerce. We have with Sprinterra, we've been partnering with a couple of partners where they had like a manufacturing company, and the family took their profits and went out and bought real estate, and then they needed property management for that. So there's different examples that they don't have to be in real estate, they don't have to be in the management business, but they may have a portfolio, especially in healthcare, where they're buying office park, medical places. We have a situation where general contractors doing construction work where they're building prisons, but they need to do the management on that as well. So, just kind of open up your questioning is that, oh, do you own any, real estate? How is that real estate being managed? They may tell you it's a third party. Get the name of the third party and see what they're using. Let me just emphasize, because many of the things that you see on the screen here, you all are very much aware that these are the advantages of Acumatica. And this is where you can truly differentiate against the legacy vendors that are out there. Even some of the ones I mentioned, they don't do multi-company, intercompany really well like Acumatica. AP workflow, even today with Sage Intacct, it's a third-party product. Some of the other vendors are saying, yeah, you go use Avid or use some other third party. They're not native to the platform. It's another third-party program, another set of fee. So look at these things that you probably are already using when you're trying to promote Acumatica. And these things really resonate in the property management space. You have different personas. You've got the property manager, you have the VP of property management, you have accounting, a property accountant, you got the owner, the investor, dashboards, profiles, all those work really, really nice. Then the new platform, the universal search, the online help. Some of these legacy products have to use an external database or an external program to do that. So you really have a strategic advantage when you're starting the conversation around Acumatica. Advance. So there's a couple of ways to approach this. We talked about going after your current Sage customers, going after your current clients to see if they own and manage real estate. But the ideal client that you're looking for, if you're selling the construction module, is if they are a developer. And it's a very simple question. Do you develop for yourself? Do you hold it after you develop it? And you guys are probably guys and gals are probably asking these kinds of questions, but we're seeing an uptick where developers now are developing and holding it versus developing it and quickly selling it, or they may hold it for a period of time, get it leased up, package the portfolio, and sell it. So that's the really win-win here is you get to sell the construction and the property management. And then if you're looking going into Zoom Info or some of these third-party databases, look for companies that manage properties, just property management. There's all different categories, shopping centers, land, industrial, but you want to kind of focus around that type. Commercial, industrial, you have mixed use. The bottom floor is retail. Then the second floor, third floor can be commercial. Top floor could be apartments or condos. Acumatica with Sprinterra is a great solution for that mixed use type of scenario. I've already kind of talked about the manufacturing that was owning warehouses. Commercial leases, the biggest differentiator today, even with Yardi and some of the other products I've mentioned, is Sprinterra has done a superb job building in the platform an end-to-end solution for escalations and recoveries. We did a demonstration with one of the top partners of Acumatica last month, and this individual has equally 25, 30 years of my experience, and of all the property management systems he's ever been around, he was blown away with what Sprinterra has put together around common area maintenance, escalations and recoveries. And it's kind of like an end-to-end. There's no third party, no Excel. So if any of you have dealt with clients that needed escalations and recoveries, and you've always asked how they do it, it's in Excel. This is now all inside the Sprinterra product. So it's a very big differentiator to our competitors. So we talked a little bit about the ideal client profile. You got to understand, and this is what's been really exciting, for our organization all these decades, is that they're really smart people. The property managers, property owners, they're really easy to get along with. They're very clear in what they're looking for. And if you know ahead of time the type of person you're talking to, so if you're dealing with a property manager, if you're dealing with a property accountant, you're dealing with an owner, they're going to be, some are going to be first generation coming off of pencils and paper or QuickBooks. Some will have a legacy product. So, just know that, you've got a great opportunity to introduce them to what today's technology is. A property manager has got multiple responsibilities. They're constantly looking at and reviewing approval on invoices. They've got to create work orders if they walk the property or hear it from the tenant. They've got billings, they got collections. Big budget is a big thing. There's operational budget for the management company, but there's also property budgets, and usually the property manager is updating and reviewing. Great opportunity for Valexo that gives that's something to kind of decentralize a lot of this data manipulation from that perspective, coming out of the lease data. That's also a very powerful feature in Sprinterra for the lease, the options, the escalators, and things. Advance. The other footnote too here is that you do have the opportunity to sell the construction module, right? Because if they don't do development, they do have to manage tenant build-outs and tenant improvements. And the construction module is great for contracts and projects. So you get to kind of have a little bit bigger of a sale. And that is, many of your competitors are either reconfiguring their chart of accounts to do that, or they're doing some type of subledger where you're actually able to talk about, let's set up that Nike build out. It's a budget of $40,000. Let's track the charges and changes to that budget. So again, it's just another differentiator going after this market. These are really the talking points. You're going to have a lot of interest around our financial report writing. It's in the financial system that we all are familiar with. We just talked about how development can help out. look at the property management module that Sprinterra's put together as a three-legged stool. It starts with a database around properties, units, spaces, tenants, leases. That is where the record of truth is. So yes, they have a 15-page, 30-page lease document. Work with them, set up the attributes, have them input that data one time. Now they can generate a lot of critical dates. They can do a lot of different inquiries. You can even help prepare a new draft of a new lease and use DocuSign for signing. So this is the database, all the square footage, the color of the carpet. Does it back up to a railroad processing? These are data elements that a property manager, property management organization needs to look at. The second component I call turning the crank, the billing and cash receipts. We're leveraging Acumatica with Sprinterra for the data collection to know when charges need to be billed. What is the value of the charges? Because the charges change. If it's a 5-year lease, you're putting into the database the 5 years, the beginning, the ending, the escalation, etc. And then you turn the crank, do the billing, and it's using the accounts receivable module inside Acumatica. So invoicing, statements, cash receipts. Payments can be made with the click to pay feature that comes standard with Acumatica, or there's a tenant portal. The tenant can log in, they can look at their lease history, they can do a payment online. So that's kind of the turning the crank type scenario. And then there's work orders. Okay, so the tenant has a request, break fix, property manager walks the property, they go to their iPad, create a work order. And then what's nice here is that if the work order needs to be billed to the tenant, it has that functionality, or if it needs to be billed back to the owner, it has that functionality. The third stool is the reporting. So just like I didn't talk about accounts payable for property management, I didn't talk about general ledger for property management, but when we talk about reporting for property management, there are many different types of reports at different personas in the company. Property managers have their group, the accounting group, the owners have, and it's very powerful that what Sprinterra has been put together is a nice suite of reports, both financial as well as data related. Advance. So let's just kind of walk through a few screens here. We hope that you have signed up for our session in a couple of weeks at the summit, where we're going to kind of go a little bit deeper in some of these conversations. We also, come visit the Sprinterra booth. If you or your client or prospect would like a one-on-one demonstration, we can certainly, Igor and his team can get that set up. Anton Systems will have staff there. And of course, Sprinterra's got a pretty good footprint of technical people to address any questions, about this solution. But what I want to just illustrate here are a few screens is that this is an example that this is Acumatica. It looks like Acumatica, it behaves like Acumatica. And that's a very big differentiator compared to a lot of ISVs out there. There's a number of ISVs have great products, but then it's the flip-flop of different user interface, different help screens. Here, this is really nice this is a really, as I call it, good vertical market solution under one scenario. So you can quickly see how they can inquiry data. There's your property unit setup. There's the work orders, billing statement, billing cycles, dashboards, the expense recovery, pretty complete. Advance. As we get into the actual object now, again, there's the property object. You'll see the information. You have the spaces within the property, the expense pool for escalations and recovery, the type of commercial lease, property management. This could be the example where this property is being managed by a third party. Maybe I own it, but somebody else manages it. And then there's partnership, because again, in property management, you may have a portfolio of properties that have different ownership percentages, and you need to be able to produce certain financial statements to that. Advance. And then here's the unit information. Again, you have the ability to track the individual spaces. You can track spaces that are occupied, unoccupied, spaces that are on a renovation or construction, work orders against that unit, and then also utility billing, utility meters. Well, I'll pause here for a second. You'll see on the left-hand side where your menuing system, the word property management. So just like the other modules in Acumatica, you click into property management, There's your menuing system for all that functionality. Okay, advance. Now, this is the lease. Probably besides the escalations and recovery, it's the lease management is also very powerful in the Sprinterra solution. That the idea is, again, to abstract that lease, get all the critical dates into the system, and let the software alert and move along any information that, let's say there's an option in 90 days, have the workflow to immediately alert the property manager, or maybe it has to go to the broker. The broker's involved, using that automation of workflow review and approval, alerting type scenario. Also on the billing side, I can actually look at a rent roll into the future. What's my gross potential rent? Because I've got the schedule of the charges that are here. So very good on the critical date side, tracking security deposits. You can have multiple units to a lease. You can have multiple leases to a property. There's a lot of ways that this can be three-dimensional based on the complexity. Let's say it's a floor of 10 office suites, and each suite has its own lease to its own tenant. So it has that capability as well. Expense recovery, we talked a little bit about, but again, here in the recovery area, you can quickly see by lease, start and end dating, what type of escalation, and then on the far right-hand side, what the actual calculated amount is based on that period, what is being billed in that period, and what's the calculated due for that period. You have situations where tenants are making a prorated payment every month, let's say $1,000 a month towards taxes and insurance. And then at the end of the term, end of the year, then there's a reconciliation where they actually accumulate the cost of real estate, taxes, and insurance, and it came back to be $14,000. So now we've got to do an interim billing of $2,000 to get them to the 14, and then we may increase from $1,000 a month to $1,200 a month for the next year. All this automation is taking place for you inside Sprinterra. Advance. Reporting, very critical. And, because, we've been doing this for over 3 decades and, hundreds of clients, and some of the staff at Sprinterra, being engaged in this space for the last couple of years, we've kind of put together a really nice series of report packets. There's an owner investor packet. There's the VP of Property Management Operations. There's a report packet for the property manager, right? Because if you're managing properties for others, then you've got to kind of put together a report packet every month or every quarter, both financial and operational. And Acumatica with Sprinterra has got that covered from a really nice reporting packet. And then, of course, again, we use the leverage where you can have these report packets queued up, automatically sent out by email, etc. Again, using out of the box, you can use the statement. You can put logos on their statements, make it personalized statements, invoices. Rent rolls, many different flavors of rent rolls, summary rent rolls, gross potential rent rolls are all here. You can, again, using the power of Acumatica, you can do a 1-to-1, or it could be a group. I can take property 1, 3, and 5, because that's a group that's managed by Margaret, or 1, 3, and 5, I'm the owner. I like to see delinquencies, aging reports, those types of scenarios. Down at the bottom, this is if I can just go back, this is a very popular feature, especially when you got a property of 20, 30, 40 tenants, that you can very quickly go to the end of the report and get the summary information. That's really nice. Advance. Dashboards, there's some really nice out-of-the-box dashboards that Sprinterra has kind of said, okay, these are the ones that most property management companies would like to see. When we work with you, we can introduce some other ones that we kind of see based on the type of ideal client profile you're working with. Commercial land might be different than shopping centers, so there's different metrics. I didn't mention that, but in shopping centers or grocery stores, there's what we call percentage leases or breakpoint. A lease is based on a percentage of their sales, and that needs to be tracked every month. And then you got to do some type of billing. There's different breakpoints, right? You can have a grocery store that has groceries and liquor. Those are 2 different types of scenarios. So we do a very good job in the solution for retail and breakpoint type calculations. So that's a kind of, a nutshell of what the property management and what the market capabilities are. We'll expand on this at the summit. And, Alec and Igor and myself are more than happy to answer any questions. So I'm gonna kind of turn it back over to Igor, who's kind of going to outline how you guys can get started.
Yep. Thank you, Michael. Really good stuff. So now when you saw the kind of quick demo of what the product is capable of, and you're asking yourself, how can I start selling this to my clients? Let's go through the process. So typically you should identify, research your existing potential clients. Like Michael said, if you have developers, real estate developers who you work with, ask them. They may have the property management business, or they may be affiliated with somebody who has this business. Those are good potential candidates to use the product. So once you identify them, register your lead with us, with Sprinterra. Then schedule a discovery call. And as we said before, we will help along the way. So we will be there. We'll help with setting the agenda, with marketing materials if you need. And we'll definitely help you with the demo. And we'll run a demo similar to this one on a live system. And from the discovery call, once we figure out the requirements of every particular customer, we will kind of tailor the demo to their needs. And then complete the sale. And let me just quickly. And the step 6 is the support of and the implementation phase. So the important piece of information that as a partner, you are the partner of record. So you own the client. We're here to help you. So we want to make sure that you're enabled to sell this product to your customers. And we will assist you as long as you need us, right? And by us, I mean Sprinterra and Anton Systems. We partner together to specifically help partners to sell this. And if you don't have a lot of experience, you can do shadow implementation, you can do shadow discovery, shadow demo. Michael will and his team will do the best possible job to position the product. But as you may become comfortable doing it on your own, maybe after 1, after 2, 3 implementations, once you're ready, you can go ahead and do it on your own. But again, we are there to help. And the important thing, it's the customer is yours. You are our partner of record, and we are there to support you. So the pricing and margins, the pricing for the product itself, this does not include Acumatica cost. It ranges from $10,000 to $15,000. And we do run promotions alongside Acumatica, so we will let you know when those promotions are available. And the implementation typically ranges from $8,000 to $12,000. And we still have about 5 minutes that we would like to open for Q&A session if anybody has questions. Okay, if there are no questions, we will distribute the recording of this webinar to every participant. If you come up with questions, please feel free to send them to us. You'll have emails for myself, for Michael, but I think you also know how to find Sprinterra and Anton Systems if you want to talk more. If there are no questions, unfortunately, I don't see the participant list anymore because
No, there is no questions.
There are no questions. Okay. All right. So thank you so much, Michael. Thank you for doing the.
Igor, thank you. Thank you, guys. See you all at Summit.
See you at Summit. and see us at the booth.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.